So we ordered this meat press off Amazon to make our own lunch meat. Shipping and all, it was about 20 bucks, but there's a couple things you should know before you order this one. If you're looking for one with instructions, this one isn't it. If you're looking for one that has a thermometer that reads in Fahrenheit, then this also is not it. I'm going to go ahead and start a large stock pot of water heating up on the stove top. And I'm making chicken deli meat, so I've got a little over 2 pounds of chicken breast here that's still partially frozen. I'm going to cut it up in chunks. It being partially frozen like this is going to help cut it up and grind it, and it's also going to make it safer to handle where it's still cold. This meat press is supposed to hold 1 to 1.5 kilos, which would be well over 2 pounds, somewhere between 2 and 2.5 pounds, somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm going to use a grinder, and I'm well aware that not everyone has a grinder. If you do not have a grinder, you can use a food processor. Most people have a food processor. You see here that I'm just feeding these chicken chunks in here, grinding it up. I'm using a pretty fine plate because chicken's pretty easy to grind. I think this is a 3/16 plate. I feel like the finer you grind it up, the better you're going to be. To mine, I'm going to add a half a tablespoon of salt, half a tablespoon of garlic powder, and a half a tablespoon of onion powder. You can add whatever you want to yours, and you can put however much of it you want in it. Now, while I'm mixing, I'm going to show you guys what comes in a prepackaged pack of chicken deli meat. And here is what's in mine. So the press consists of the cylinder itself, canister, whatever you want to call it. We got a spring that's attached to the top that mashes the meat down. We got the lid itself, and we have the thermometer that sticks right down in the top, just like that. I haven't seen anyone else do this, but I'm going to spray the inside of my canister with some cooking spray, hoping that helps it come out a little easier. I'm also going to spray the top that mashes the meat down. And then with my horrible camera angle here, I'm going to start putting this ground chicken down in the canister a little bit at a time and just kind of packing it down with my hand as I go. Ended up about 2/3 full. Now I'm going to put the top in with the spring, place the lid on, give it a little partial turn, locks itself in place, and then I'm going to stick the thermometer eventually right down in the middle, just like that. By this time, the water's about ready. I'm just going to set the canister in there and wait for it to come to a boil. This cooking process ended up taking about 1 hour and 20 minutes. I pulled it off at about 155 to 160 and let it sit on the counter for a little while. I wanted to make sure it was done but not overcooked. So once that comes back up to a boil, I'll turn that temperature down to about medium. Just let it run like a little soft, slow boil. I added water a couple times along the way as needed. Then when it cooled off a little bit, put it in the refrigerator overnight, went to bed. So the next morning I got it out, took the thermometer out, took the top off. I went ahead and took the spring out. You can see a little bit of juice down in there. Went ahead and took the spring out, but I couldn't get the top plate off separately. But the good news is I was able to turn it upside down and shake it a little bit, and it all came out together. So I do feel like the cooking spray definitely helped. Then I can just peel the little top plate off. So here's the next item that you may or may not have at your house: a meat slicer. If you don't have one, you could always just use a chainsaw instead. Or you could just use a knife. Well, since you don't have anything better to do but sit and watch me slice up this meat, I'll feed you a little bit more useless information. Uh, you can use beef, turkey, pork, chicken, basically any kind of lunch meat that you usually buy, you could probably replicate in some fashion using this method. And like I said, if you don't have a meat grinder or a meat slicer, you could always use a food processor and a chainsaw. Me personally, I prefer a steel chainsaw, but I'm sure a Husqvarna would work, in a pinch. A pound of prepackaged deli chicken meat at my local store, the store brand, was $6.99 a pound. I paid $2.50 a pound for this chicken, which isn't uh, real abnormal for this area to find it that cheap. Sometimes even as cheap as $2. But 2 pounds at the store would have cost $14. These 2 pounds here cost me 5. So I could literally do this process one more time and could pay for my meat press. This stuff will keep a couple weeks in the refrigerator and a lot longer than that in the freezer. As you can see, I didn't have to worry about freezing any because between the four of us, 3 days later, there's one layer left in the container. But anyway, we'll see you guys on the next one. Well, actually, I guess you'll see me on the next one because I'll be the one in the video.